Addiction is a complex condition. It's not a moral failing, and it's definitely not a sign of weakness. It's really a deep human response to pain and disconnection. A lot of folks believe addiction is all about the chemical hooks in drugs. But if that were the whole story, every patient given powerful painkillers in a hospital would leave as an addict. That just doesn't happen. Addiction is often a symptom of a deeper problem. It's about trying to find relief from overwhelming pain, from trauma, from loneliness. This is why these stories of recovery are so incredibly important. They show us that the path out of addiction isn't about punishment or shame. It's about finding a new way to connect with the world and with others. These comeback stories, they're more than just tales of personal triumph. They're a beacon of hope for people who are currently lost in the darkness of their own struggles. They remind us that change is possible, no matter how desperate the situation may seem. When someone is trapped in the cycle of addiction, they often feel completely alone. They believe no one can understand what they're going through. Hearing from someone who has walked that same path, who has felt that same despair and found a way out, can be a powerful lifeline. It breaks through the isolation and plants a seed of possibility. It says, you are not alone, and there is a way forward. The journey to recovery is unique for every single person. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. But you know, a common thread runs through almost every story of a successful comeback. It's the discovery of genuine human connection. The opposite of addiction is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection. When people find a community, a purpose, or a loving relationship, the need for the substance begins to fade. The drug was filling a void. When that void is filled with something real, something warm and human, the drug loses its power. These stories show us the mechanics of that process in real life. Understanding this changes how we view addiction and recovery. It shifts the focus from what is wrong with you to what has happened to you. It moves us away from judgment and toward compassion. It tells us that to help someone recover, we must offer them a better alternative to their addiction. We must offer them acceptance, support, and a place to belong. The stories of people who have reclaimed their lives are the most powerful proof we have that this approach works. They're not just inspiring, they're instructional. They teach us how to build a world where fewer people feel the need to escape into addiction in the first place. Consider the story of a man named Michael. For years, his world was very small. It was just him and his heroin. The drug promised to take away the pain from a childhood he could not bear to remember. It promised comfort and escape. But honestly, it was a lie. The escape became a prison. His days were a frantic cycle of getting money, finding the drug, and using it. He lost his job. His family begged him to stop, but their words felt like attacks. He felt judged and misunderstood. The shame was a heavy blanket that only made him want to use more. The drug was the only thing that seemed to offer any relief from the pain it was causing. The turning point for Michael was not a grand, dramatic event. It was a quiet moment of clarity. He was looking at a photograph of himself as a young boy, smiling and full of life. He did not recognize that person anymore. He realized the drug had not just taken his money and his health. It had stolen his soul. He saw that if he continued on this path, he would die. And in that moment, the fear of dying was finally greater than the fear of living without the drug. That small shift was everything. He picked up the phone and called his sister, something he had not done in months. He said only 4 words, "I need your help." Then there is Sarah, a woman who seemed to have it all. She had a successful career as a lawyer, a beautiful home, and a loving husband. But she had a secret. Every evening she would drink an entire bottle of wine, sometimes more, to numb the crushing anxiety she felt. She was terrified of failing, of not being perfect. Alcohol became her crutch. It helped her feel confident and relaxed, but only for a little while. Soon she started missing deadlines at work. Her husband noticed she was distant and irritable. Her perfect life was beginning to crack under the strain of her secret addiction. Sarah's moment of realization came during a family dinner. Her young daughter asked her, "Mommy, why are your eyes always so sleepy?" The simple, innocent question cut through all her defenses. She saw herself through her daughter's eyes and was horrified. She was not the mother she wanted to be. She was absent, hidden behind a haze of alcohol. The next day, she found an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting online. Her hands were shaking as she walked into the room. She was terrified of being judged. But instead of judgment, she found a group of people who understood. They shared their own stories, and for the first time, Sarah did not feel alone. The first step is a monumental achievement, but the journey has only just begun. Recovery is not a single event, it's a continuous process, a daily choice. For Michael, the first few months were a brutal war against his own body and mind. The physical withdrawal was agony, but the psychological cravings were even worse. Every little thing could be a trigger. A stressful phone call, a sad song on the radio, or just the feeling of being bored could send his mind screaming for the familiar comfort of heroin. He had to learn new ways to cope with life's challenges, ways that did not involve a needle. Support from his family was crucial, but he also needed a community that understood the specific battle he was fighting. He joined a support group, much like Sarah did. In these meetings, he could speak honestly about his cravings without fear of judgment. He learned from others who were further along in their recovery. They gave him practical advice, like avoiding certain places or people from his past. They also gave him something just as important: hope. Seeing people who had been clean for years showed him that a different life was possible. He had to build a new life where it was easier not to use. Sarah also faced immense challenges. In her old life, alcohol was part of everything. It was at business dinners, social gatherings, and quiet nights at home. She had to completely rebuild her social life. She discovered that many of her friends were really just drinking buddies. When she stopped drinking, they disappeared. This was painful, but it also showed her who her true friends were. Her husband became her biggest supporter. He stopped drinking as well, in solidarity with her. They started finding new activities to do together, like hiking and cooking classes, building a new foundation for their relationship. Setbacks are a natural part of recovery. There were days when Sarah felt an overwhelming urge to drink. Once, after a particularly difficult day at work, she found herself standing in the wine aisle at the grocery store. The temptation was immense, but instead of buying a bottle, she called her sponsor from AA. Her sponsor talked to her for an hour, reminding her of how far she had come and why she had decided to stop in the first place. The craving passed. These moments are not failures, they are tests. Each time she overcame a craving, she grew stronger and more confident in her ability to stay sober. As time went on, the painful struggles of early recovery began to give way to the profound joys of a life reclaimed. For Michael, sobriety opened up a world he thought was lost to him forever. He started by volunteering at an animal shelter. The simple act of caring for animals gave him a sense of purpose and responsibility. It was a gentle way to reconnect with the world. He eventually went back to school and became a veterinary technician. The man who once could not see a future beyond his next fix was now building a career helping living creatures. He also repaired his relationship with his family, replacing years of pain with new memories of trust and love. Sarah's life also transformed in beautiful ways. Without the fog of alcohol, she rediscovered her passion for her work. She was sharper, more focused, and more creative than ever before. But the biggest change was at home. She was truly present for her daughter. They would read stories, play in the park, and have long conversations. She was no longer the sleepy, distant mother. She was vibrant and engaged. Her marriage, once strained, was now stronger and more intimate. They had faced a major crisis together and had come out the other side with a deeper appreciation for each other. She found joy not in a bottle, but in the simple, beautiful moments of her real life. The journey of recovery is not about returning to the person you were before the addiction. It's about becoming someone new, someone stronger and more self-aware. Both Michael and Sarah found new hobbies and passions. Michael took up painting, channeling his complex emotions onto canvas. Sarah joined a running club, discovering the mental clarity that came with physical exertion. These new activities were more than just ways to pass the time. They were essential parts of their new identity, healthy sources of joy and fulfillment that replaced the false promise of their substance. If you are reading this and struggling with addiction, please know that there is hope. Your story does not have to end in darkness. The path Michael and Sarah took is available to you too. The first step is the hardest, but it is also the most important. Reach out. Tell someone you trust that you need help. Find a support group. Connect with others who understand. It is a long and difficult road, but you do not have to walk it alone. A new life, full of connection, purpose, and genuine happiness is waiting for you. You are worth the journey.